Hi there. We just got done recording with Melissa Sweets, who is a Latin music expert, whether she's repping artists or curating events and supporting women all around the world. We're just so excited that she's going to spend some time with us today, sharing her business strategies, her strategies for personal success as well. Just excited to share this episode with you. Welcome all to the Power Up Your Life podcast. I'm Kelly Resendez.
And I'm Mandy McAllister.
And we are incredibly grateful to have the amazing Melissa Sweets here on the line, and just super excited to have you here. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit about your impressive career and what you have going on right now.
Amazing. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much, Mandy, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's Women's History Month, so what better month to have, amazing women on your show. So I'm really excited about that. Melissa Sweets, right? How did I get that name? So I started out in radio, and that's how I met a lot of the people that I work with now. I started out in New York City, being on some of the top radio stations. I needed a name. There was a really cool country song by the Altman Brothers called Sweet Melissa. And so the radio production team was like, why don't you flip that and call yourself Melissa Sweets? So now people think I make cupcakes, but it's okay. Because what I do is I actually make culture, right? So I've spent over a decade. I want to say I started around 2007. Kind of dating myself, but that's okay because I still look good for my age. But I'm so humble, right? But intersection of music, media, and culture, that's always been my thing. I've worked with major labels like BMG, Warner Music, Rock Nation, Viper, Adonde Media, really just working with independent artists as well, helping producers also with their marketing in the podcast world. I've helped to craft strategies that elevate their brands, connect them with the right audiences. So it spans across artist relations, brand partnerships, digital marketing, right? But always focusing on like bridging the gap between Latin and mainstream markets. Beyond the music, fashion brands, tech companies, lifestyle platforms. Right now, I'm actually working on a couple of things. I'm in South by Southwest right now. I have a couple of artists that are performing. I've turned on my manager hat, right? I've worked a lot with a lot of Latin artists in Miami. That's where I'm based now, even though I grew up in New York, lived a little bit in Houston, going to South America a lot. My mother's from Colombia. My father's from Argentina. And I have a 17-year-old son. I'm a single mom, and I like doing this because I want to wave that flag for all the single moms that they can still do this. It's a little crazy, it's a little ambitious, but I really do love what I do. And my son is number 2 in the state of Florida. He just won for the state championships, which is really cool.
In what?
For wrestling. Sorry, for
wrestling. Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
Which is a really tough sport. He's been doing this since like 8-9 years old. So now I'm taking my management skills to my artists and leveling up that game, right? So that's why I'm here in South by. I'm doing a really cool women's history happy hour, if you will, with women in music. I've got like some really great people showing up, all music execs, women that work in the music industry for Miami, for the Miami chapter. And that's being sponsored by Jim Beam. So just like bringing certain brands and things together. I know Miami's trying to be really the big global music hub. So I'm helping the Miami Downtown Authority with making that happen and bringing new business. Another thing that I'm doing is hosting SiriusXM Pitbull's show. I'm bringing in a ton of new talent, ton of new DJs, and that'll be all week for Miami Music Week. So we'll be fist pumping all week. So it's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Amazing.
I'm growing my team too, and some of the girls, they are amazing, and some of them are like, I don't know how you do this, and I don't think that this is for me. And I understand it's not for everybody. Because you do have to put on your corporate hat, your business hat during the day, but then you also have to be at events at night or on the weekends, right? So it can be a lot, but you have to just really love it.
I love that. Well, one of the things that we always want to try to help our listeners with, because you've already created massive success and have a great name for yourself in this space, but there have probably been times where you had to pivot or you felt stuck in what you were doing. And I know it was great just with a mutual friend of ours, Hala, on Sunday, and she was talking about how like you guys just kind of knew this blog needed to transform into something else. Maybe talk a little bit about, whether that or when you felt stuck and had to really pivot because of where you were.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for me, honestly, I was working, that's funny enough, with Hala on the hip hop side, and that's where I pivoted to the Latin side.
Okay.
Right. And that's where I felt like, okay, I was getting a lot of roadblocks. I know Hala was too. She pivoted sort of to the podcasting side. I stayed in music. Um, and for me there, what worked for me was being able to take my bilingual, you know, skills and turn that into the Latin right on the cusp when Latin was becoming, really big. So Despacito, right, really blew up, and I was right on the cusp of that. And I realized, you know what, I love hip hop, I do, and it's probably where where my heart is always. But I knew that I had a great background growing up, spending summers in South America with my parents and things like that. I knew a lot about the cultural nuances and what it took in order to be able to target the right audiences, right? And I'm the target audience. I'm that first generation immigrant, right? My parents came here with nothing and, the American dream, right? And now I'm that generation to kind of continue that. So I was the 75 million Latinx, if you will, that they call us now, right? So I was like, I'm the perfect target to promote to myself, right? And I
Yeah.
know what I like, I know what I want, I know what audience I am. So I just took that and ran with that. And honestly, also coming from the mainstream market really helped me in the Latin side, right? Because I knew that side too, which a lot of Latin that didn't, and execs, right? I was able to explain everything correctly to the Latin side, to the American side. So I was very much that medium that they needed, you know?
Amazing.
Sounds like you found where there was a missing piece and you became that missing piece.
I
I
created
love
my
how you
own
said,
lane, you know?
absolutely. I love how you said that you create culture.
Yeah.
I think a big piece of what we all do as entrepreneurs is learning to trust our own judgment. So it sounds like you made a couple of those pivots. Talk to me a little bit about, a decision making process or how you decide on what to do to lean into trusting your own judgment.
Wow. It's definitely something that you grow with every decision you make, right? Because sometimes there are decisions that you make that don't work out. And it's just a big risk factor, right? There's definitely been times where I've thrown events and, I put my all into something and felt like, the feedback wasn't great. And I've had to cancel them, right? And, you know, you already put it out there in the world, right? The social world that this is happening. And then you have to make that decision to cancel it because you're not going to get the people that are supposed to show up, right? So you have to make that executive choice, right? And it's really hard because that actually happened to me not too long ago. But the weather, I went to do an event in New York and the weather was really bad. And people were very excited about showing up. Um, but I had to make the executive decision of canceling it because I had an artist showing up. I had, and I didn't want to take on that expense after the fact and then for the room to be empty or whatnot. So I had to make the choice of canceling the event, and it hurt like hell. And you stay quiet on social media a couple days, because I'm not going to really tell the world, okay, it didn't happen. They don't need to know that, right? It's funny how perception is so big, especially in this
Yeah.
industry. So you kind of have to just roll with those punches. And, people ask me, oh, how was your event? People in Miami that weren't there in New York, like, how was your event? Like, oh, it was great. Thanks for asking. Oh, you didn't post anything. I was like, I'm so busy. And honestly, that's what I had to do. I kind of had to make that decision where, I know it's kind of like, moving around the perception, but I don't need people to know that, it was a terrible situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it moving. It's going to be positive. And now I'm putting on this event for Women's History Month.
That's
and I'm bringing
amazing.
the artist there, right? So you just kind of just roll with those punches, you move on, and you focus on the next best thing. That's it.
Yeah. No, that's great. What would you say? Because this is one challenge that I think women have elevating or starting a business. Is they're a little too worried about what other people think or being perfect? Help
Yeah.
me, like, tell me what advice you would give to the women out there that are like, maybe don't feel that strong because you're a badass, right? Like, you're like, I got to just keep moving, do the things that I need to do. What advice would you give them?
Okay. Cry a little bit. Because it happens, I think when, we're emotional human beings, right? Whether man or women, right? And I think the best thing is to just like Beyonce gives herself 24 hours to be sad on something,
Mm-hmm.
and then she keeps it moving, So I roll like Beyonce, right? If something upsets me, I'm going to give myself those 24 hours to feel it, because that's giving myself the time to heal,
Mm,
right? And so from there, I'm gonna wake up the next day and be like, all right, what do I have to do next? You can't sit and wallow in your pity. That's not gonna get anything done. And a lot of people depend on me. Especially my son, and
yeah.
I'm not going to let anybody down, or even myself. I also learned, I'm in a single phase. I've been single now 3 years, and I'm really loving it. The first year was a little rough, but now I'm in my second, third year, and I really feel like men can sometimes make you feel crappy, you
Mm,
know. So sometimes maybe you just need to be alone, and really focus on yourself and make yourself happy. And I feel
Oh,
like that has really helped me a lot, because I don't have to report to anybody, or you know my house could be a crap show. Nobody's gonna see it, right? As long as I'm getting my things done, So I think that as long as I feel good for myself and I'm doing things for
right.
myself, um, everything else is gonna work. So I think with women, just give yourself some time to get over whatever it is you're upset about, but get to it, right? And start off small, little
mhm.
steps, baby steps, especially.
Yep.
Mental health has been such an issue lately. I mean, I think it's always been. It's just being more trendy now, right? Where people talk about it. Um, but you just got to keep going. Just do little things that make you feel happy. For me, is I make my bed, I start moving. Make my coffee. I check my emails. I check in with a friend, a family member that makes me feel good, right? I'll
Mm-hmm.
do a meditation. I go to the gym. Oh, saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The gym is my sanctuary. And then after you go to the gym, you get those dopamines in you. You're like, I could take on the world, So honestly,
That's awesome.
yeah, that's my strategy.
I
Love
love
it.
it. The next right step. Sometimes when you're paralyzed, the thing that gets you moving is just moving your body.
A
It's
hundred.
the cart before the horse thing. I spent some time in my life as a single mom too, and I feel like if it's a thing that has like a not great light on it, but it's a thing that you really you find yourself in a big way. I'm curious to any single moms out there who are maybe paralyzed themselves and don't want to bet on themselves because they're playing the safe route of whatever job that doesn't fill their soul. What do you say to them? What are a couple pieces of advice for them?
Oh man, I guess lean into your circle.
Mm,
I'm a Capricorn. I'm still learning a lot about my sign, yeah, but I've learned that I don't like asking for help. you
mm,
know and that also can make me
ooh.
sort of like the alpha female, especially with men, which I think is why I'm so single, because I just like doing everything on my own now, so it's like, I think, but you do need to ask for help, and I'm not saying, don't. Like, I think as a single mom, I've leaned into a lot of other moms, right? Find those girls that are also just like you, that are similar. Find a community, right? In Miami, I joined like a recreational soccer league with women. It's something that I love. I used to play that in high school, right? There's the wrestling moms, right? You just gotta kind of put yourself out there. You know, my son's girlfriend's mom is a sweetheart. She's also a single mom. So we're kind of like raising our kids together, and they're an amazing set. And, she also wrestles, I just got really lucky with that. I think, leaning into certain people that you can, you can, is going to really help. You can't isolate yourself. You're going to go crazy.
Yes.
So finding a community, and you're actually going to live longer.
Yeah.
Studies show,
Yeah.
and I do have to say, there is a study out there that I read that kids raised by single moms are actually smarter and have better people skills in life.
Yeah.
And they know how to deal with problems better
Yeah.
because, they have no choice but to, because
Yeah.
they're single moms.
For sure. No, that's
So,
amazing. Environment's so important. That's one of the things at GoBundance Women that we're like, once we know what's possible, then it does kind of unlock that freedom to be able to make those choices. So thank you for that.
yeah,
What would
of
you
course. And I
say?
just want to say, I'm sorry, I just want
Yeah,
to say
go
one more
ahead.
thing. I have a couple of women that I know are choosing to have kids on their own. Now it's become a thing, especially since women are making more money than ever.
Yeah.
So they're making the choice of just doing it on their own. And I'm really, really, it's really inspiring. And some of the moms hit me up and say, Mel, I love what you do, and you're kind of inspiring me to go on this route by myself. Obviously grandma and grandpa are gonna help me, but I really think I want to do it myself, and I haven't found a good man to help me or anything. So I'm just gonna go about it and choose my own jeans and make my own designer baby. I'm like, girl, you go for it.
That's amazing. Well, and that's the thing. It's like we've got to create the life that we want, and if the partner's not there, I mean,
100%.
we do have. I mean, there is some time constraints when it comes to that. So, for sure, what would you say, just being a female business owner? What are the greatest building blocks that allowed you to get where you're going? So we've got a lot of people that are building businesses, right? They haven't built the influence that you have already. Like, what would you say those main points are in your business that have really elevated where
I
you are?
think for me, what worked for me is I'm really good at networking, right? And I'm really
Okay.
good at like showing up to places and being genuine and showing love and, shaking hands, kissing babies, right? And just kind of like being a, in the moment with someone at an event and just bringing value to that, right? I started out, in radio, and you don't really make much money when you first start out in radio. But I knew that I could use the logo and the brand to uplift myself and my own brand. So I did that, and I made relationships. And every relationship that I have, I keep, I follow up. The name of the game in the music industry is following up, right? So that's something that like as I went on any other escapade and every other thing that I did, I always make sure to let people know what's up, what I'm up to. Here's how you can get involved, right? And you just elevate and keep growing with that and those people, building sort of like your email list.
Yeah. Super important. That's awesome.
I love it. In terms of like the idea of clarity, just that next right step, the actionable stuff that you do when you're lacking clarity, how do you go find it?
I party like a rock star. No, I'm kidding. Um, kind of and no. So it's a combination of things, right? For me right now, I've been laid off from the music business, and I haven't said this to anybody. Nobody really knows unless you're my personal friend. But I've been on my own now for 2 years, almost a year and a half. There was a massive layoff in the label system. A lot of us were affected. And we've turned that into our own little lone wolves community. We have a Slack channel. We all help each other out. And what we do is sort of what I'm doing right now is I'm consulting for these artists. I'm getting them gigs. I'm, project managing for them. A lot of artist relations, and we're connecting the dots between genres: country, Latin, pop, right? And it's like, how can we help each other? And
Mm,
it's a community of all of people like us that are super smart, executive, been in the music business for years, but we're just laid off because of the innovation and circumstances that,
Yeah.
happens in the label business. So, um, I kind of lead on into this community to say, hey, this is what's going on, or I saw this job posting, I'm going to refer you. Um, and that's been really beautiful to see.
mm,
And I think what I've done to get my clarity, like, I'm very high achieving, right? And sometimes when I feel like I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm being a bum or a loser or something like that, right? So I think what's really helped me in this time is to kind of scale back and be like, you know what? You've worked hard for so long.
mhm.
Maybe the universe is trying to tell you to slow down a little bit so that you can actually
Yes,
catch up,
Yeah.
you know? And I
exactly what I was
really
going
did
to
that.
say. Maybe it was a gift from the universe, because
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories from investors that this layoff turned out to be this greatest gift, this nudge from the universe that I wouldn't have done on my own. But you've said so many things, Melissa, that are just fantastic. I feel like I'm now going to say I roll like Beyonce. That might be my favorite thing that you said. And this idea of asking for help. That's the thing that we say a lot at GoBundance Women. You got to know what your ask is so that you can ask for help when and where you need it. Kelly, what were a couple of things that hit you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think some of it's being that entrepreneur that's willing to fail and make a decision that, a lot of people aren't willing to make. And you have to do that. You have to be thoughtful about what that is. And then so much of that advice in networking that you are present, that you're adding value and trusting as you do that, that it's going to really allow you to build your business. So you have been an incredible guest. We are so grateful to have you here. I hope that your event there at South by Southwest is incredible, and we'll just continue to hopefully support one another, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Where
Yeah,
is the best place for people to follow you?
Instagram is my go-to, at Melissa Sweets, And I
Awesome.
just want to give a little shout out just for in the spirit of women. I'm really grateful to have amazing women in my life. Hala is a big part of that. So she's the reason why I'm here staying in South by. She's letting me stay in her place. So she's always been so supportive. And then my friend Carolyn Ortiz, I know she's going to watch this. And she has a great platform where she also helps executives like us come together and find new clients. And she's amazing. She has a program called the BAK Playground. Yeah, shout outs to Women in Music for supporting me in all my initiatives. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys for this time. And I hope you
Yes,
guys have a
thank you
Awesome.
great weekend.
so much. Share this episode, get it out there. If you need help with talent, or you are an artist that's listening, definitely check out Melissa. I know we've been collaborating with her on a few projects as well. So thank you so much, and have an amazing day, everyone. See you on the next episode.